Welcome to Letstute Accountancy. So today we are going to solve question 5 of consignment accounting. So let's get started. Messrs. DD and Company consigned to Hari 1000 bags costing 250 per bag. They were invoiced at 20% above the cost price. So again, this is the problem based where the goods are invoiced at the invoice price, that is 250 is the cost, but they are invoiced to consignee at 20% above the cost. Messrs. DD and Company paid 1500 for insurance, 3500 for carriage and 5000 for miscellaneous expenses. So these are the consignor's expenses. On receiving the consignment, Hari accepted a bill for half of the amount of the invoice price. So the bill is drawn by the consignor on the consignee. Hari over here is consignee who accepted the bill for the half of the amount of the invoice price. Hari sent an account sales which shows as follow: cash sales of 600 bags at 350 each, credit sales of 300 bags at 400 each. Hari took 50 bags for his own use at 320 per bag. So now this is the new transaction or new adjustment in this question where the consignee is taking over the goods for his own use. So how it would be dealt, we'll see in the solution. Expenses paid by Hari were go down rent 3000 and selling expenses 5000. Hari remitted balance due by a draft after deducting his expenses and the commission at 10% on sales. Del-Credere commission at 2% on credit sales of 300 bags only and 15% of any surplus price realized over the invoice price. Show consignment account and Hari account in the books of Messrs. DD and Company, that is in the books of consignor, and Messrs. DD and Company account in the books of Hari, that is in the books of consignee. You need to prepare consignor's account. So I have already prepared the formats: consignment account, Hari account, and in the books of Hari, Messrs. DD and Company, that is consignor's account, and for the working notes. So we'll start with the question. Messrs. DD and Company consigned to Hari 1000 bags costing 250 per bag, and they were invoiced at 20% above the cost price. So now first working note 1, loading cost plus loading, that gives you invoice price, that is equal to invoice price. Now this is 20% above the cost price, so we can assume cost as 100, on that 20% would be 20, so your invoice price is 120, or directly you can go with the cost of 250 per bag, 1000 bags costing 250. So if cost is 250, on 250 20% is the loading, so 250 into 20%, so that comes to 50. So your invoice price is 300. So per bag your loading is 50 per bag and invoice price is 300 per bag. Okay, so we'll start the entry for the same. Posting in the consignment account, goods sent on consignment would debited to consignment account. 2 goods sent on consignment account, this is 1000 bags. Now since the goods are sent at invoice price, this would be recorded invoice price and your invoice price is 300. So into 300, so 1000 bags into 300, that comes to 3 lakhs. And since this is at invoice price but the cost actually is 250, so we reverse the loading. We have done this in the previous question, so you can refer the previous question again. By goods sent on consignment, loading, and there were 1000 bags into loading per bag is 50, so that comes to 50,000. So we transfer the goods at invoice price, so we basically record that at invoice price, and to reverse the loading we credit that consignment account. So if you see, net effect of cost comes 300 minus 50, so net effect of 250 comes, but we always record at invoice price because goods are basically invoiced at invoice price. Okay, now next, Messrs. DD and Company paid 1500 for insurance, carriage and miscellaneous expense. So this is consignor's expenses. Consignment account debit to cash bank account. Insurance is 1500, carriage 3500, miscellaneous expenses 5000. Next, on receiving the consignment, Hari accepted a bill for half of the amount of the invoice price. So the bill is drawn by Messrs. DD and Company on Hari. So for Messrs. DD and Company, the entry would be bills receivable account debit to Hari account. So credited to Hari by bills receivable account, that is half of the amount of invoice price, so that is 3 lakhs into half. So bill is accepted for 1,50,000. Now for Diddy and company, this is bills receivable. So for Harry, it would be bills payable because Harry has accepted that bill. So entry would be party account debit or drawer account debit to bills payable, and over here drawer is Messrs DD. So it would be Messrs DD to bills payable. So to bills payable account, and this would be 1,50,000. We can say this is given as advance. So you can write as advance. Next, Harry sent an account sales. Now account sales is a document which is sent by consignee after the showing all the transactions of the consignment done by the consignee. So account sales denotes all the transactions of Harry, that is consignee, which shows as below. There is a cash sales, there is a credit sales, and there are goods which are taken by Harry, expenses of Harry, and there are types of all the three types of commission, that is normal commission of 10%, Del-Credere commission of 2%, and again overriding commission, that is surplus commission of 15%. Now since the Del-Credere commission is given, consignment debtors will appear in the books of consignor or consignee. It will appear in the books of consignee because consignor is giving Del-Credere commission of 2%. Okay, so for consignor, all the cash sales and credit sales, the entry remains same. For cash sales, it would be cash account debit to sales. So over here it would be entry as consignee to sales because we need to receive amount from the consignee, that is Harry, to sales. Instead of sales, we write as consignment account. So for cash sales entries, Harry account debit to consignment account. Again for credit sales, the amount is to be recovered from consignee itself because we are giving extra commission for the collection purpose. So again that amount is receivable from Harry. So we'll say Harry account debit to consignment account. And the goods which are taken for his own use, the amount for this goods will also be receivable from Harry, that is consignee. Though consignee is taking for own use, we will recover our amount for this 50 bags, though it is not yet sold by cash or credit sales, but still the amount is receivable because the Harry took over this 50 bags and this is valued at 320 per bag. Okay, we had sent the bags at 300 and it is taken over at 320 per bag. So that amount is also again receivable from Harry. So entry remains same, Harry account debit, and for us it would be as good as sales, not sold to the third party. But since consignee is withdrawing the goods, it would be assumed or it would be treated as good as sold to Harry. Harry has taken it for own use. We have appointed Harry to sell those goods to the third person. But if Harry himself take over the goods, it would be dealt as sold to Harry himself. Okay, so this would be also as good as your sales. So for all the three sales, cash sales, credit sales, and taken for own use, your entry becomes consignee account debit, Harry account debit to consignment account. So by Harry account, first is your cash sales, that is 600 bags into 350 each. So that comes to 600 into 350, 2,10,000. Next, 300 bags of credit sales, 300 bags at 400 each. So that comes to 1,20,000 and taken for own use. Now this can be possible that Harry is purchasing the goods from us, that is from DD and company, and Harry might sell those goods on his own business, not for the agency, not like a consignee, but for his own business he might sell the goods. So taken for own use, that would be 50 bags and taken at 320 per bag. So this is 50 into 320, that comes to 16,000. Second effect of this goes to Harry account, to consignment account, sales and taken for own use. We write the total figure, 2,10,000 plus 1,20,000 plus 16,000. So that comes to 3,46,000. Okay, so this is your sales entry. Now this would be recorded by Harry. Goods sent or consignor's expenses not recorded by the consignee, but the goods which are sold by the consignee will be recorded by the consignee. Now for cash sales, consignee will pass the entry as cash bank account debit to consignor account instead of sales, consignor, because the sales amount belongs to consignor. So by cash bank account for cash sales, that is 2,10,000. Since Del-Credere commission is given, debtors for this credit sales will appear in the books of consignee. So entry would be consignment debtors to consignor. For sales, instead of sales, we credit consignor account because sales are done on behalf of consignor. So consignment debtors account, that is for credit sales, that is 1,20,000. And for the goods which are taken for his own use, it is as good as purchases made by Harry. It is getting transferred from consignment business. Consignee is not selling to third person, but consignee is purchasing those goods for his own use. So for his own business, it would be as good as purchases. So what the entry was passed for the purchases, we say purchases account debit, and it is purchased from Messrs. DD and Company. So for Harry, it would be as good as credit purchases because amount is still not paid to DD and Company, so amount is payable. So your entry for credit purchases would be purchases account debit to party account, so purchases to Messrs. DD and Company account. So by purchases account, second effect of this will go to purchase account of Harry books. So in the books of Harry, purchases account would be debited for the goods coming in for this 50 bags. So purchases we can write as taken for his use and amount is 16,000. So over here we pass the combined entry because all the amount is receivable from Harry, but in the books of Harry we bifurcate because for cash sales Harry receives cash. For credit sales the debtors are debited, collection is yet to be made, and for the taken for own use purchases, it would be purchases for Harry's business, so purchases would be debited and credit to consignor's account. Next, expenses paid by Harry. So consignment account debit to Harry account to consignee account, that is go down rent 3,000, selling expenses 5,000, and second effect goes to Harry account by consignment account for expenses, total is 8,000. Harry will also pass the entry for the same. For Harry, expense entry is to be reimbursed from DD and Company, so entry would be consignor account debit to cash bank. Now this we have done in almost all the questions, and we have also discussed in our journal entries. For expenses, total is 8,000. Next, Harry remitted the balance due by a draft, so whatever the balancing figure will come in the Harry's account, that would be by bank account because that would not be carried forward, it would be settled through bank draft. After deducting his expense entry we have already passed, and commission. Now there are three types of commission, so we'll prepare a working note for this commission. Working note 2, commission. First, 10% on sales, so that would be on total sales. Now if you see the total sales, we have totaled it over here, 3,46,000. Now this is the cash sales on which we give commission. This is your credit sales on which DD will give commission. On 16,000, whether the consignor will give commission or not? Yes, definitely consignor will give commission, though it is not sold to the outsiders, but it is taken over by consignee. Consignor is receiving his payment for this 50 bags, so it is as good as sales for the consignor because goods are going out of the business. So for consignor, that is Messrs. DD and Company, goods are going out, though it is taken by consignee, but that does not make any difference. Goods are going out and DD is getting the amount of 16,000. So for the 16,000 also, consignor will give commission unless and otherwise specified in the question, like if they specified the goods taken for his own use, no commission is to be given, then we don't give commission for this 16,000. But if nothing specified, even if the goods are taken for his own use, we do provide the commission. So we'll give the commission on this entire sales, that is 3,46,000 into 10%, that comes to 34,600. Next, 2% Del-Credere commission of 2%. Now nothing specified, it is on total sales, but if you see in this question, they have specified Del-Credere commission at 2% on credit sales of 300 bags only. Now in all the previous question, they all generally don't specify, they just specify Del-Credere commission 2% or 1% or 5%. We provide Del-Credere commission, nothing specified on total sales. But since over here it is clearly mentioned that it is to be given only on the credit sales, we'll give this on credit sales only. So your calculation would be 2% Del-Credere commission. This would be, our credit sales is 1,20,000 into 2%. So that comes to 1,20,000 into 2%, 2,400. And third, Now third one is 15% of any surplus price realized over invoice price. So this is 15% on surplus price over invoice price. Now what is the invoice price? The goods are invoiced at 300 per bag. So whatever amount or whatever price collected over and above this 300, on that extra amount or extra selling price, we will give extra commission of 15%. Now as you can see, there are all the three selling price are different, and all the three selling price are more than this invoice price of 300, but over here the extra amount is 50, over here extra is 100, as compared to 300 this is 400, and in this extra price is only 20. So for all the three sales, we will have to calculate separately. So that would be on cash sales, 600 bags were sold. On that, this is sold at 350, invoice price is 300, so extra is 50, surplus price is 50, on that 15%. B, on credit sales, 300 bags are sold. Now invoice price is 300, but the selling price is 400, so surplus price is 100 into 15%. And taken for own use, 50 bags are taken for own use, on which extra price is, invoice price was 300 and it is taken over at 320, so extra is 20 into 15%. So calculate 600 into 50 into 15%, 4,500, 300 into 100 into 15%, 4,500, and 50 into 20 into 15%. This is 150. So this is your total commission. So as you can see over here, all the three types of commissions are covered. Total here 34,600 plus 2,400 plus 4,500 plus 4,500 plus 150. So that comes to 46,150. So this is your total commission. We'll pass the entry for this. For consignment, it is an expense payable to Harry. So consignment to Harry account, commission. Since we have prepared a working note, give the reference of working note 2. It is 46,150. Second effect, Harry account credit by consignment account, commission 46,150. And Harry will also pass entry for this. For Harry, it is an income receivable from Messrs. DD and Company. So we say party to income, that is Messrs. DD and Company account debit. To income is your commission. So to commission account, and we record Del-Credere commission separately. So to Del-Credere commission account. Overriding commission is combined with normal commission account itself. So we just bifurcate commission and Del-Credere commission. Your Del-Credere commission is 2,400. So 46,150 minus 2,400, that is 43,750 is your normal commission. How does this 43,750 came? 34,600, that is your ordinary commission, plus your this surplus commission. So that total came to normal commission of 43,750. Okay. So commission entry is done. Show consignment account, Harry account. Okay, so this is the required part, and DD account in the books of Harry. Now we have done with the question. Goods are sent, loading is reversed, consignor's expenses are done, goods are sold, consignee's expenses, consignee's commission. Before closing the account, what is our final check? Yes, our final check, whether there is a closing stock or not. Now in this question, there was no normal loss or abnormal loss, so there is no effect for the same. So final check, whether there is a closing stock. How many bags are sold? Just total it up. This is 600 plus 300 plus 50 bags are sold. So only 950 bags are sold, but 1000 bags were consigned. So there are still 50 bags lying unsold with the consignee. So we'll do the valuation of the same. So working note 3, value of closing stock. We prepare 2 columns, quantity and amount. First of all, we start with goods sent on consignment. How many quantity? 1000 quantity, and it was sent at 1000 bags are sent at 3 lakhs. Next, add consignor's all expenses, quantity dash, all expenses of consignor. So that is 1500 plus 3500 plus 5000. So that comes to 10,000. So now 1000 quantity are worth of 3,10,000. There is no abnormal loss over here. Then we add consignee's non-recurring expenses. So now consignee's non-recurring expenses, there's a go down rent and selling expenses. There is no non-recurring expense of consignee, so we'll not add that because go down rent and selling expense are not non-recurring. What is non-recurring expense? All the expenses incurred till the goods reaches to the go down of consignee, and these are the expenses paid after the goods are reached to the go down of the consignee, and these are all selling expenses. So these are all your selling expenses. So that will not come in the valuation of closing stock. We take only purchase and direct expenses for the purchases. There is no normal loss. So I can say this is value of good quality stock. This we compare with the closing stock. Out of the 1000 quantity, 950 units were sold. We have totaled this up. So closing stock is 50. So what would be the value of closing stock? So 50 into 3,10,000 divided by 1000. So your closing stock comes to 15,500. So this is your closing stock. Consignment account credit by stock on consignment account as per working note 3, and that comes to 15,500. Now the most important part again over here. In this valuation of closing stock, the goods which are sent on consignment, this 3 lakhs is your cost or invoice price? This is your invoice price. So when I find out the closing stock using this valuation, this 15,500 is again your invoice price. So we need to reverse the loading on the same. So on closing stock, since it is also valued at invoice price because the goods were sent at invoice price, so the stock lying with the consignee is also at invoice price. So we'll reverse the loading on this, for which we write as to stock reserve account. Now this stock on consignment, the second effect of this stock on consignment is shown on the asset side of the balance sheet of Messrs. DD. So in the books of Messrs. DD or in the balance sheet of consignor, that is DD and company, there would be a normal closing stock of his own business, plus there would be stock on consignment on his asset side. So there would be 2 types of stock. One is on his normal business, plus one is on consignment lying with the consignee but ownership with the consignor. But when this amount of 15,500 added on the asset side, that will give a wrong picture because the cost of the stock is not 15,500. This includes invoice price. So for that we reverse the loading, and this stock reserve, second effect of this stock reserve is in the balance sheet on the asset side. When you write stock on consignment 15,500, we show as a deduction of this stock reserve. So whatever would be your stock reserve amount, that will be shown as a deduction from this 15,500. That will give you a correct cost of your stock. So guys, you understood that? So for this stock reserve, how will we find out? Now if you do the cross multiplication, then I can say if 15,500 is 120, 20 would be how much? So if we do that, 15,500 is 120. So 15,500 into 20 cross multiplication divided by 120, that comes to 2583.3333. But we know the quantity, that is 50 bags. So if I write loading on closing stock, we have 50 bags, and if I multiply with the loading per unit of 50 bags, so 50 into 50, this comes to 2,500. So this comes to 2,500. Now if I had cross multiplied, that was coming at 2583 something, and if I multiply with the per unit, this comes to 2,500. Why there is a difference? If you cross multiply, you get different answer, but if you multiply with the per unit loading, per bag loading, then you get the different answer, because over here if you see this calculation, this is the invoice price, but this is your expense. So I can say your closing stock consists of invoice by goods sent at invoice price plus a component of expenses. But if you see this equation, this is just cost plus loading is equal to invoice price. There is no expense element in this. So always remember that you are not doing this. If you do this 100 plus 20, 120, if this is 15,500, this is how much you'll get. See, 15,500 into 20 divided by 120, you get 2583.33. But this is wrong. This is wrong calculation, because this 15,500 is not only the invoice price, that contains a component or the proportionate amount of expenses also. So you will not cross multiply with this equation, you will always do with the per unit. So guys, please always remember, you have to go with the per unit loading. Over here also we do with the per unit. So whenever there is a loading concept, it is always better first of all you find out loading per unit if they have mentioned the quantity. So I have found out this is 250 per unit. Per bag cost of bag per unit per bag was 250. So on this 250 there was 50 per bag loading. So we have 50 as loading per bag. So always multiply with the loading of per unit and do not cross multiply. Over here your cross multiplication would be wrong because your closing stock also contains proportionate amount of expenses. So guys, you understood this, please do remember this, okay? So we have passed the entry for closing stock, we have reversed the loading on the same, so that gives you net effect of the cost. So that is done. Or else what you can do for an alternate solution, you can also do that with this amount column, you also prepare cost column. So the cost of the goods for this would be 3 lakhs minus 50, 2,50,000 plus 10,000 expenses remain same. So this would be 2,50,000. 2,50,000 is for 1,000 units. For 50 units, how much? You can find out that. You can find out the cost and this invoice price. The difference would be your stock reserve loading amount. But for that, you will have to prepare again extra column. So better than that, we have per unit. So directly multiply. So that will save our time for this extra calculation. Okay. If they don't specify per unit, if you have to do that cost element, then if not, there is no other option, then you can do that. But if you have this is more easier. Okay. So now we are done with the closing stock and everything. Finally totaling our consignment account. Find out whether there is a profit or loss. 50,000 plus 2,10,000, 1,20,000, 16, 15,500. So 411,500 minus 3 lakhs minus 1,500, 3,500, 5,000, 3,000, 5,000, 46,150, 2,500. So we have a profit of 44,850 and the total was 411,500. To profit and loss account, in bracket profit on consignment. So next we will total Harry account, 3,46,000 minus 3,46,000 minus 1,50,000 minus 8,000 minus 46,150. So we have 141,850. Now in question it was given that bank account. Now if you see here, it was specified that Harry remitted the balance due by draft. So whatever is the final settlement amount, that is 141,850, is received from Harry through a draft, that is by bank account. In bracket we can write as draft for the settlement. Okay. The same balance would be there in the books of Harry, Messrs. DD and Company's account. So total is 3,46,000. 3,46,000. And the balancing figure would also be same. If you just want to check, you can check, but we have posted the same entries. 3,46,000 minus 1,50,000 minus 8,000 minus 43,750 minus 2,400. So 141,850 Harry paid. So entry would be DD and Company to bank. So that is received as final settlement. So we are done with our question. So over here, the most important things or the different things over here is, one is your loading that we have already done in question number 4. So again there was the loading concept. On goods sent it was reversed on the credit side. On closing stock it was reversed on the debit side, but the name is stock reserve account. Again this was a new thing over here, the goods taken for own use. And do remember, if nothing specified, we do give commission on total sales, that is cash, credit plus the goods which are taken on for own use. So that is also sales for the consignor, because consignee is taking over those goods. consignee is going to make payment for those goods. So that is also sales. So all the three things, all the three sales, the commission is to be calculated unless otherwise specified in the question. Okay, so stock reserve, that is your valuation of valuation of closing stock, and in this question we have all the three types of commission, that is ordinary commission, Del-Credere commission and overriding commission, and this is your final solution. So I hope you understood this question, and if you have any doubt you can write in the comment section below. So that's it for today. Hope you have enjoyed learning with Letstute Accountancy. So stay tuned with us. Thank you.